Welcome to Entertainment, the channel with the most deceptive name in all of YouTube. Well, today we'll be looking at 10 fighters who became famous for doing certain moves or finishes on their opponents, and it sort of became their signature move or their specialty. But then one day came that opponent out of nowhere that was able to beat them using their own signature move. How disappointing and embarrassing must that be to be able to beat so many guys with this one move, and you became known for it, and then you end up losing in the same fashion. Let's get started. We have to start off with one and only Mirko Cro Cop, who was famous for his kicks, but most importantly, his lightning quick left high kick. All his kicks were just incredibly powerful, but this kick in particular became known as the right kick to the hospital, left kick to the cemetery. It was that dominant. It was so good that sometimes the leg barely glanced the top of the head of the other guy, and they just went down. I think one of the only guys that was able to get back up from it was Mark Hunt, but he's known for his crazy strong chin. But then at UFC 70 in 2007, he was facing off against Gabriel Gonzaga, and something amazing happened.
And bringing the action to Mirko
was a lack of respect coming into this fight.
by not training it.
Look at that welt on Gonzaga's body
the same
just
thing,
from
Joe.
that one kick.
This man.
Mirko looks tentative though. Oh!
This happened in the third round of the fight, and this was considered a major upset by Gonzaga. But the most impressive thing was that he finished Cro Cop with a head kick that knocked him out the same way he had done to so many opponents. Thomas Hearns had a great jab, but he was better known for his incredible power, especially in his right hand. In his career, where he moved from welterweight up to cruiserweight, he had an 80% knockout percentage, which is just incredibly high. He showed his amazing right hand when he beat fellow heavy hitter Pipino Cuevas.
Right hand gets full. Big right hand again. Look at this shot. He's ready to go. He's got him in big trouble. Mentoring him with that left hand. Look at him looking to drop that big right now. Oh, the right hand.
But then in 1988, when he was trying to rebuild his image after losing to Hagler, he fought journeyman Iran Barkley, where Hearns was making his first defense of his middleweight belt. Hearns was the heavy favorite, and he showed it for the first 2 rounds. But then came the final minute of round 3.
To go to the body with a left uppercut.
Barkley landed a huge right hand that put Hearns down hard. Somehow, he was able to recover and get up, but the fight was already over. Barkley just jumped on him and ended the fight by sending him through the ropes.
It's not a game, it's a rich thing.
Cain Velasquez started his career by knocking every one of his opponents with punches except for one. He was known for having a crazy amount of punching output, especially for the heavyweight division. He was so dominant that he was considered to be the greatest heavyweight fighter of all time in his prime. His most famous beating was when he beat Brock Lesnar and won the title.
Swinging with anything right now. Velasquez. Lesnar. Spinning out of control. Cain Velasquez eats it out. Oh, he's cheating.
But then, in 2011, Junior Dos Santos faced off against Cain Velasquez on UFC on Fox and beat him in under 1 minute and 5 seconds. And how did he beat him? Well, by the name of this list, it's pretty obvious.
Again, he looks for the kick. Big shot! He's big right hand by Junior Dos Santos.
Yep, Dos Santos landed an overhand right that floored Cain, and he pounced on him and ended the fight. The punching god got taken out by a crazy punch. The bad thing about this fight is that there was a ton of hype since it was a 1-hour special on live television, and the fight ended in 1 minute. Mike Tyson has dynamite in every one of his punches, but his most famous punch is probably the vicious uppercut. In his career, he had 44 knockouts and 50 wins. That's just incredible. He is listed as the top 5 heaviest hitter in the heavyweight division by many different publications. Just look at the speed and power in some of these uppercut knockouts.
Trouble again, and now Tyson moves in for the kill. 2 uppercuts to the left hand. Thomas trying to hold on. Serious trouble, and down he goes.
The day where he finally felt an uppercut as crazy as his was in his most famous fight when he fought Buster Douglas. This is not his biggest fight, but it is the most famous since Tyson lost to Douglas, who was the 42-1 underdog. and this is considered one of the biggest upsets in all of sports. The fight was a long fight going into the 10th round. Tyson actually knocked Douglas down with his own uppercut in the final seconds of the 8th round, but he was able to recover.
Cuts he's landed in the fight. We've been looking for that all night. Oh, there's a nice uppercut that time. The drop.
Then in the 10th round, Buster Douglas landed a big uppercut that basically knocked out Tyson on his feet.
Land a big right hand. The hook away, he went back in his heels. Doesn't have the good balance. His legs together as Buster's landing these. Oh, nice uppercut by Buster Douglas. Look at that.
But he followed up with more punches that ended the fight for good.
It's not a game, it's a wrestling.
Ken Shamrock was known as the world's most dangerous man, and many of his opponents learned this lesson when they lost to him by his specialty, which was his leg locks. In his career, he fought a total of 47 times in MMA and won 28 of them, 9 of them by leg lock submissions, which was by far his most used submission. Of course, he was good at all types of submissions, but this was the one he used to win the most fights.
Sweep, back sweep, back sweep. Up.
Showtime wins. Shamrock. Good leg stop. Go back.
He only lost twice in his career by leg locks, and that was done by the same guy, Minoru Suzuki. Their first fight was in 1994, where Suzuki pulled off the win with a knee bar. Then they faced off again in 1995, and once again, Suzuki pulled off the win with another knee bar.
ここでシャムロックは立つべきでしたね。まだ立てます。で、ここで逆に自分が狙っちゃうから、その逆のその足を捉えちゃったんですね。まだ。
In these fights, you could see that Shamrock was trying to pull off his own leg locks, but Suzuki was just faster and was able to win. Jeff Monson has a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and is a master of submission grappling and is recognized as one of the world's best. His most famous submission move is the North-South choke, and he has won a total of 17 fights using this technique, and some even call this move the Monson choke. But he also used the rear naked choke a ton and is considered one of his signature moves, winning 16 fights using this technique. He did lose by a rear naked choke early in his career in his 4th pro fight, but since it was so early in his career, he didn't really have a signature move yet. The one that we'll be looking at is when he faced Alexei Olenek in 2013 after he had already fought more than 60 times.
But Alexei continued his good campaign. Win with very amplitude strikes.
This was an extremely grueling fight that took place on their feet for most of the fight, but toward the end of the 2nd round, Monson took a hard hit that put him on the ground. And here is where Monson was taken out by a rear naked choke.
Can do this. Alexander Emelianenko fue insistente. This turn of he go to the rear naked choke.
He kind of just looked to be exhausted and gave up his back fairly easy.
It's not a game, it's a wrestling.
Once again, we have Fedor Emelianenko on one of my lists. This time, it's him losing by one of his signature moves. Fedor was pretty much an all-around fighter, great on his feet and able to do a ton of submissions. One of the submissions that he became famous for was the armbar. He finished 6 of his fights in this fashion, none more impressive than when he beat the Korean Colossus, Choi Hong-man.
Size difference.
No kick, no knees.
One way or the other for Fedor. Most everyone else picking him. Punch is huge. You know the peppery shots by Choi. They're huge punches with the size. You can see this. Look at the mammoth fist here of Hong-man Choi. Again, Fedor one. That's it. He got it. Fedor.
The size differential is just incredible. He's basically hanging off his arm like a little kid. But then he faced Fabricio Verdum in 2010, and this is the guy that ended his incredibly long winning streak.
And he drops it. Verdum trying to wrap him up. It looked like he was going to tap there. He's got his arm straight.
So Verdum won by a triangle armbar and was one of the biggest upsets in sports, and this happened very quickly, ending the fight in the 1st round. Verdum is a submission specialist with a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so this was a big possibility that it could happen. Chuck Liddell is a knockout machine. He is able to knock out fighters with both hands and with his kicks, but his signature move has to be the overhand right.
Now the angle I want is not here, cross. Yeah.
It's even more extreme than most people's overhand rights, as he almost does a windmill motion. His best use of this that I can see is when he faced off against Alistair Overeem in 2003.
Looks like you got a little rock there too. Two rights,
and then two rights, three rights, and a knee. This could be the end of the fight. Hurt. Liddell now.
It landed perfectly with full force on top of Overeem's forehead, knocking him out on his feet. Then toward the end of his career, on his fourth to last fight, he faced off against Rashard Evans, and he got the overhand right. That was a perfect shot, just beating out the uppercut by Liddell. The most impressive part about Liddell was that when he was trading shots, he never looked jumpy or hesitant. Like most fighters that fought against him seemed to be terrified of being connected by one of his incredible punches, and they just looked scared the entire time they were trading, kind of nervous. I can just imagine how much crap they got for losing with their own signature move. I'm also pretty sure that these opponents probably dreamed about being able to do this because it just creates more buzz about them, since they will have to be mentioned because losing in this fashion makes the news, and everybody wants to know who was able to beat the guy with his own signature move. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe down below. Also make sure to turn on those notifications. Thanks for watching. See you next time.